Excellent. An ale for me. And for my officers. In fact, ales for everyone.
10 Backward. With Rick and Will and Gemma.
Oh, yes.
Hello and welcome to 10 Backward, a Star Trek podcast based here in the UK, featuring myself, Will Turland, this lady to the right of me, Gemma Turland.
Hello.
A man over the internet, Rick Everson.
Hello.
And another man also over the internet, Rick Palmer.
Hey, Macarena. That's the song I sing when I wash my hands for 20 seconds.
It's not long enough.
Yes.
That was like 3 seconds.
You sing it 20 times.
I do the whole. I mean, I do the. I do. I remember. I do the bit I remember 3 times, like 8 seconds. Hey, Macarena, and then I do that 2 more times. That's 24 seconds. So if anything, I'm doing more than I need to, and that's why my hands look awful. But clean.
But okay, no one's going to see your hands.
Yeah, I know.
No one's going to get that close, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I sing the theme song to Enterprise.
Of course you do, Rick.
Not for washing my hands, just generally. I just wander around singing. It makes me happy.
Yeah, just in case any listeners have downloaded this podcast in the year 2025 and are wondering what the hell we're on about, we're recording this in the midst of coronavirus fever. If you'll pardon the unfortunate use of words there, it's pretty crazy.
Yep.
So crazy. Yeah.
We've never seen anything like this. Me and Gemma are locked down with our kids because we've all got coughs, which probably aren't coronavirus, but you know the guideline is,
and we're being responsible adults.
Yeah. Schools are closing.
Yeah.
Pubs and restaurants are closing.
Yeah.
And but you know, one thing that's kept going in all this is Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
They are still streaming Star Trek Picard into our eyes and ears.
And hearts.
And hearts.
Yeah. And
it's much needed. It's
yeah. That's the sentiment I was going to say.
Last week was the point at which it seemed to get more. Well, I mean, it's been serious for a while. Don't get me wrong, but last week was the week where it seemed like the measures being taken were more serious and sort of society changing. And I remember, I think I was talking on our WhatsApp group, going, I can't wait to watch Star Trek Picard because I need cheering up. Even though in Picard, the storyline in that is pretty serious and involves lots of death and destruction. It's like, what a relief.
Yeah,
something to distract me from real life.
Right. Yeah, I really need something to put a smile on my face. It's Dr. Girardi throwing up and or crying. She does it like 5 times in an episode. But I think as Star Trek fans, surely we've all got experience of finding solace in the world of Star Trek, or any kind of fiction. It's always been a bit of a coping mechanism for fans of anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes when it's pretty bleak, you just that chance to escape into a better world that Star Trek shares. Yeah. It's always welcome.
Yeah. So in many ways, I hope listeners that you find this episode of 10 Backward to be medicinal, actually. Although
no, we don't. We're not making any claims.
It will not protect you against coronavirus. It's not an antidote.
No, please continue to socially isolate.
And
it can merely treat the symptoms of sadness and
boredom.
Yeah.
it may, depending on how long this one goes on for, it may exacerbate the
Yeah.
boredom actually.
Warning.
Yeah.
But while everything else is closing, 10 Backward's going to stay open because we can do this without touching each other. So,
Yay.
I miss that.
Yeah.
you know,
I miss
well,
I miss the good old days when we used to kind of
touching.
kiss each other all the time and
Yeah,
spit on each other and everything. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
yeah, whole episodes where we just lick each other's faces.
I prefer it this way. I mean, I'm in the minority, but I always was a bit uncomfortable with that.
Well, you didn't complain. I never heard you complaining, Will.
I didn't dare. But yeah, you know, we should talk about this episode, shouldn't we?
We should, yes.
Which has is it a Latin title?
Yes, Et in Arcadia Ego.
Oh, I'm so glad you said it, Rick.
And I too in Arcadia, apparently is what it means. I think I represents death. Like there's a painting by an artist called Poussin, and it's got a picture of a bunch of shepherds around a tomb, like a sarcophagus, and they're pointing at it, going, "Huh?" Like what? I think it's meant to represent the fact that even in paradise, death is still there. A bit like the TV show Death in Paradise, I suppose.
Oh, that's a reference then.
So that's what Et in Arcadia means. It means even if you move to the Caribbean to solve crime, if you move to the Caribbean to solve what seems like a normal crime, you'll be there for two seasons at least, and learn something about yourself,
and then probably get killed off.
or move back to the UK and get replaced by another actor.
Yeah. You remember the episode of Picard where we visited Vashti, and we see a flashback where Picard beams down and he's dressed like the man from Del Monte.
This happens again.
Oh, yeah. That's the look he would have if he was in Death in Paradise.
Yeah, or the man from Del Monte looks like a Nazi who's hiding out in Argentina.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just German. I'm just German in Argentina. You know, it's not. I mean, I moved over in 1946, of course, but it's just coincidence, you know.
And one thing I was thinking, having a pretentious Latin episode title is so un-Star Trek. I mean, this has never been done before, has it? Never before in Star Trek.
Very matter-of-fact titles, like Space Mission Part 1.
yeah.
I'm massively in favour of the fancy titles like this, actually.
I am when they work. I think sometimes they are pretentious. Like, there was that one in Discovery, the butcher's block cares not for the lamb's cry. And I'm like, come on, just say dangerous time.
I liked that one.
Yeah. You could just call it Space Danger Part 5.
Space Danger. Pointy Space Danger.
It became.
Look out!
It became very common for Voyager and Enterprise to have single word titles. I kind of did.
Void.
Yeah. Deadlock.
I think where it's punchy.
Nemesis. It is punchy.
Yeah.
It's dramatic. It's more dramatic, less drawn out.
But I think back to classic TOS, like "For the world is hollow and I have touched the sky." That's a flipping brilliant title.
Yeah, I love that title. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
DS9 had a few Latin titles, didn't it? Inter Arnhem.
Silent Ledgers.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. We had trouble pronouncing it when we did that episode.
Yeah. I mean, at least with Voyager episodes, they're easy to remember and say. But I struggle when we get to the Latin. But I think don't point fingers at me and look at maybe the UK education system being at fault there. When did they abandon Latin as a compulsory subject?
The 60s, maybe?
Yeah. And I think in The Game, a TNG episode, The Game, when Wesley visits the Enterprise from the Academy, Picard makes reference to him having studied Latin at the Academy. So Latin's coming back, guys. Just because we're in it now, it's coming back. It will be a lesson we'll all have to study.
I don't know. I get the impression that maybe there was less need to learn Latin once the Bible was translated into English properly, which is like around Shakespeare's time, I think. So I guess when that happened, like you didn't have to have that in so much. So you didn't have, because the Bible would probably be in Latin. As soon as it gets translated into English, it's like, well, what do we need to know Latin for?
What else am I going to read in Latin?
I mean, I could. It will allow me to know the titles of TV programs and mottos,
and I like the names of the parts of the body.
Yeah, or the full names of what dinosaur names actually mean.
And what if you ever wanted to go on holiday to Latinia?
Well, we just wing it and go, or me no speaky lingo.
Yeah, it's a typical British thing. We'll expect them to talk English.
Yeah.
Now you try and fudge it, and they'll go, I speak English, it's fine. Which is what happens when you're right. Like that's what I found, and when I've gone somewhere and use my broken French, they're like, God, I speak English, it is fine. You.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're over. We're over 10 minutes into this recording, and we haven't even finished discussing the title of the episode.
Well, okay.
Well, man,
what before we get into the minutiae of the episode, overall, what did you guys think of it? Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it.
Reticence in that, yeah.
But I didn't. I felt like at the end I wanted that cliffhanger to make me go, I can't wait to see where this is going to go next. And whereas I felt like, where it's going to go next feels like it's sort of like two ways, and I don't know.
I'm the same, yeah.
Yeah, it should have a massive impending fleet of enemies. That should be a.
That is always my jam.
Yeah,
a big space fleet.
But yeah, I just feel it's kind of worked itself into a place where there can be only a very limited amount of outcomes.
I know what you mean.
The big balls out, huge outcome. They just can't do that.
There's either a big sort of apocalyptic arrival of terrifying super advanced synths that are going to wipe out organics,
or organic life,
or they don't make that telephone call because Picard manages to stop them.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
kind of know. I mean, well, we don't know, but but kind of assuming that where that's going to go.
Yeah,
and it's not going to apocalyptic space synths.
And for me as well, it made me think of. It really reminded me of quite a few other episodes of Star Trek. So it really reminded me of Descent, in terms of the storyline and what's happening there, and sort of getting double crossed by not double crossed, but like an android kind of, like an evil android. There's an evil android element there, isn't there? With and also things like. The Offspring, and even there's an original series episode called "What a Little Girl's Made Of," which involves androids, and we'll get into this later on. But in this episode, this Picard episode, there's a bit where there's like a blank, like an android blank, which they've got called a golem, I think, and there's something very similar to that in what little girls are made of. Yeah. Which they kind of, in that episode, they kind of spin around really fast. They spin Kirk and this golem around really fast. Well, it's not a golem. I don't think it's called a golem. But anyway, for this sake, it is. And they spin Kirk and this golem around really fast, and the golem becomes Kirk. Basically, it looks like him. And in The Offspring, Lau starts off as like this sort of androgynous form. And so it was just an episode that made me think of other bits of Star Trek rather than sort of being its own thing, if you know what I mean. I mean, I still enjoyed it. It looked great, and I like the giant space flowers. I thought that was super cool.
Right.
Yeah,
and
yeah. I did.
but I just kind of felt like this seems like it's too informed by other bits of Star Trek. That's all.
Hmm.
But apart from that, I thought this was a brilliant episode in terms of the character of Picard. I thought Patrick Stewart was brilliant in this. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt this felt really like a classic TNG episode. They find a colony, and we end up with, ultimately by the end, there's a philosophical disagreement essentially, where one person from the colony wants to go this way, and Picard's like not having that, and going to try and talk them out of it. Obviously, this isn't extending into it, but yeah, I get what you were saying, Rick, around the sort of the harken back to other things, and I quite like the point about the golem. I hadn't considered the similarity to those test dummy androids they had in What a Little Girl's Made Of. But yeah, you can imagine those dummies looking like that golem if they did have the tech to do that.
yeah, I have to admit, I feel like there's some pretty big foreshadowing there, because there's a bit where they talk about what mind transference, and like who's going to end up in that golem, right?
Yeah.
You made a golem? Alton, have you cracked mind transfer?
Not yet. I do bodies. Bruce was a substrates man. Recently, I've regained my interest in mind transfer.
Well, also that's kind of interesting, because we've seen successful mind transference into an android body in TNG before.
Yeah. Is it Juliet Tanner?
No. Well, yes, it is. But prior to that, we saw it in series 2. What was it called? But they encounter Ira Graves, an old scientist who claims to have been the mentor of Noonien Soon.
Oh yeah.
He's dying, and he puts his mind into Data. And ultimately persuade him to stop it, get out, and he preserves his knowledge in the computer, but lets his personality go. But yes, Juliana Taylor was essentially. Was it confirmed? I can't remember now. Might have to go watch the episode, whether it was confirmed that he actually managed to do a mind transfer into the android body, or just programmed her so well she fully believed she was.
Yeah.
Juliana Taylor.
I don't remember that either, actually. I just felt like that was the case.
I just had a thought, actually, because in this episode, it's revealed to the rest of the crew that Picard has a terminal illness, and it does seem to be advancing. Is Picard going to end up in an android body at the end of this season?
That's what I was wondering.
Thus, meaning that they can still call the show Picard and have Picard around, but Patrick Stewart doesn't necessarily have to be. Maybe he'll he'll show up in a few episodes. Maybe he'll be like a sort of a head character or something. I don't know, but Patrick Stewart, he's what is he now? Is he 80? Is he 79?
He's 80. I think. Yeah.
He's 80. So maybe sort of realistically, he can't necessarily keep coming back to do more TV shows. So I don't know. That's just a thought that's literally occurred to me while we were talking.
Yeah, because I was wondering how they're going to go, because they've really bought the what I assume it's Irumodic syndrome, because it certainly seems to be drawing heavily from the All Good Things storyline of that. They've really brought that to the forefront now. They've sort of made a few offhand references to it, but it suddenly became a big thing. But no, yeah, he said it's terminal. He didn't say what sort of length of time that really states or anything, does it?
Yeah. Oh God, it'd be horrifying if Picard dies at the end of this season. I can't handle it.
I would surely. I think I'd be quite upset if it was like they did this series just to sort of to finish him off for the end.
Yeah.
It kind of. And did I get me wrong? I've loved every moment of this series, and I think the way they've brought Picard in and the way they've portrayed him through this, and obviously the way Patrick Stewart's played him has been amazing. Because rather than just have him still be stood on the bridge unchanged, he is a man who's had experiences and been weighed down and altered by them. And he's, but I would feel it was a bit like, probably Force Awakens is my best sort of comparison, that they kind of Harrison Ford come back just to kill Han Solo off, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what you could look at the whole sequel trilogy. That they brought back all the classic 3 just to kill them off one at a time through those films.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It's not. It would feels like that'd be a sour note for the show to end on.
And I feel that it's a series 2. So what's the plan if? I mean, are you suggesting, Will, that they would transfer Picard's mind into an android body, but then that allows Picard to be played by a younger, different actor?
Yeah, that feels like that is something that just nobody wants.
Well, I don't know. They made great pains to discuss how important the lines on his face were. You know, for them, the androids, this was something extraordinary and beautiful, and because it maps out a life. So would they do that? Would they put him in a younger body, or would they give him something that they found what's the word? Not desirable, but that they respected.
Yeah. Would
just a better one that didn't have.
Would they make a replica of Patrick Stewart?
Yeah.
And then. And then, wait a minute. What would be the point of? Then what would be the point of that whole story? If they transferred his mind into an I suppose.
So he doesn't have erotic syndrome anymore.
And then he would actually be a great advocate for androids because he would be himself.
Yeah, exactly.
God, I hadn't considered that.
Well, they could do both. Could they maybe they could do both? Like rather than it being a moving of his mind, just his almost his mind would get copied into the golem. So you still have Patrick Stewart, but you'd have android Picard too, and then there's like a kind of a chance for these characters to but like a buddy comedy bit in season 2, where you're always reminding me of how young I was, and like you're reminding me of how old I'm gonna get, and like he's like the Chris Tucker one, the younger one, like and hilarity ensues. But I know what you guys mean, because either if they do go with that, moving Picard into an android body and having a younger Picard as going forward, it's hard not to see that as just a move to get a younger actor in and. For the series, it's hard not to see just that. But then if you keep Picard around, the human Picard, and do that storyline, it's hard not to see people going, well, why not just keep human Picard and do something different with the android? So I think whatever they're going to do, I trust them to make the right choice, but I'm wondering. I really am wondering what's going to happen with that kind of Templar android.
Unless they have a copy of what's the Doctor's mind. What's his face? The one that she killed.
Oh,
Maddox. Unless they have a copy of Maddox that they can put in there, and he goes, "Hey, no, don't send the signal." And they go, "Oh no, Maddox doesn't want us to send the signal."
Maybe that is where it will go. Actually,
going back to the beginning episode, what do you guys think to that opening bit of the episode? With the La Sirena and the Romulan snakehead craft and the giant flowers and the Borg cube as well.
Loved it. Yeah. But that brings up the discussion that Will and I were having about the Borg cube. How it's become a bit of a non-entity.
Yeah, it feels like it's kind of just dropped out of the story.
Yeah, as it dropped out of the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the whole thing with the flowers. I thought they were a brilliant idea. I love a planet defense system that just grabs the ships and drags them into the atmosphere.
Yeah, with giant flowers.
Beautiful. Yeah.
They reminded me of Vorlon ships from Babylon 5.
It reminded me a bit of in the new She-Ra series, She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, which is one of my absolute favorite shows.
It's a
one of the
fun-
one of the princesses can control plant life and flowers.
Yes.
And she's cool. Like she's really powerful, but and it just made me something that she could do. If I could choose a superpower, I think I would choose being able to commune with nature and plant life and use them. That'd be so cool.
Pretty powerful. Yeah. I like it.
But yeah, but I thought it was great. It's just that kind of high concept sci-fi of it's weird and grand and odd and we live in an era where special effects can portray it convincingly.
Yeah, it looked great,
yeah.
and it was a pacey opening for Picard as well.
Yes.
Is this the first episode we've had that does not open with a flashback?
Did the first couple of ones not do that?
No,
I think they did. I think first
they did. Yeah.
well, I suppose the first episode opened with kind of a
The
dream
dream,
more
yeah.
than a flashback, but
It was a nice change of pace. Everyone's expecting a flashback, and was slap bang into a Borg conduit, which is awesome. Yeah, I quite liked Agnes's reaction hide under the desk. reminded me a bit of like the early days of Hoshi. She was always a reluctant space traveller.
yeah.
So yeah, so something that hit me was like, actually, this is not Picard's first time through a transwarp conduit, because if Descent, the Enterprise accidentally went through one.
Yeah.
But it was nice because also it was a scene that really felt like a lot of the crew were there on the bridge handling something. This felt like a really sort of old school Trek on the bridge. Everyone's like flying through a crisis kind of scene.
Yeah.
Which is something we've not had as much of, because this is its own show. It's not like I'm complaining, but it was also a nice little thing to have everyone manning stations and responding. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the kind of it's almost like it felt like quite a violent trip through this conduit. It's like very very fast and it's not smooth like warp travel. It's like it's like you're in a river almost. It's like you're in some rapids. Space rapids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't beat the visual of that Borg cube suddenly powering out of the conduit.
Yeah, and the sound as well. I love it when something creates like massive sound in space, because I know sound doesn't really travel in space, but I don't care because it sounds so cool.
That's unexpected.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so cool.
What did you think of that Borg cube was taken down pretty easily by those flowers? But I guess it was a Borg cube that was not fully operational as such.
No.
And I think they were bringing the weapons online, but it wasn't like like this. It wasn't the same kind of Borg cube that we encountered in, say, Best of Both Worlds.
Yeah, it wasn't at peak strength, was it? I suppose.
Well, large chunks of it had been picked apart and dismantled and taken off for study. There was minimal amount of crew, and they weren't a unified crew as it's supposed to be crewed by. Because all the drones on there that could have been used to crew it in a unified collective fashion had been spaced previously. So, I guess actually, whatever the effect those flowers have in terms of power shutdown, something the Borg hadn't encountered before.
Yeah.
So they're as susceptible to a new thing as anyone else. Really, it's only that they're kind of good at adapting quicker.
Those space orchids, they seemed effective at sort of taking down pretty much any threat that comes to the planet, but there was a limited number of them, as we'll find out a bit later in the episode. So they're a pretty good planetary defense system, so long as like only sort of 2 ships show up, and then they've got like another year or so to build some replacement flowers.
Yeah, I mean they were also a stunning visual. I thought they were, when they started coming up, I thought, are these like solar sail ships kind of thing? They're quite organic. And,
But then Yeah, Jim, we were saying that both of us were a little kind of bummed out by the sort of Borg cube story. It seems to just sort of come to a stop in this episode. So the Borg cube shows up, and you're like, amazing! And it's like, oh, okay, no, it's been taken down.
Yeah. Okay.
And
then
then
crashed.
then that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why did it even bother showing up? It was like, I guess it showed up just so that Elnor and Seven and Picard could all be reunited and have more scenes.
Flipping heck, Picard. It's the first thing he sees out. It's the first thing we see him say to Elnor's like, "Oh, we always seem to be saying goodbye." And Elnor's like, "Well, no, I can help you." No, we're saying goodbye. Goodbye, Elnor. I'm going. Bye.
That's it.
Yeah, I feel sorry for Elnor as well. I feel like Elnor is a character that's been sidelined in this show. I feel like maybe they're gonna do a Fenris Rangers show, and that's where he'll be. And
oh well, come on! When Seven says get back to save the galaxy, and he said, "Oh, that's your job now." You see Seven and Elnor just like, "Oh, there's a spin-off."
Keep saving the galaxy, Picard.
That's all on you now.
He may as well have picked up some reins and handed them over. Instead of patted them on the back and given them a wink.
And here's a torch while you're at it.
Yeah. And then they go out of the back door of the Borg cube, and there's a little sign on the back door, and it's like backdoor pilot. That was clunky. I couldn't think of a way why it would be. I should have thought about it better, and I could have made some kind of thing about it.
It was on the fly. It was good.
You could edit it in later, couldn't you?
I will edit in a much wittier thing that I said. That's a great idea, Gemma. But yeah, it did sort of. I was hoping that Elnor and Seven were then going to join the gang, but nope.
But if we're talking about possible spin-offs, that makes sense, and it makes sense that the Borg cube didn't really do, because it was such a build-up. It was such an exciting, watching the trailers, and there's a fucking Borg cube. And they're taking it apart and they're messing with it. And what's going to happen there?
Yeah.
What happened there? Nothing.
It just crashed.
Well,
Literally, it was just another setting. Obviously there was the storyline of Picard coming to terms with the Borg and his involvement with the Borg and how seeing the Borg as victims and that was all brilliant, absolutely brilliant and fascinating and wonderful. But ultimately, the whole Borg cube thing, massive disappointment so far.
We've still got part two. They're on the planet. That cube and Seven and Elnor are in as much danger from any super synth beings turning up. Oh, and for that matter, the Romulan fleet.
Yeah.
So,
can the Borgs cutting lasers? How far can they stretch?
That's a good point. Maybe they can. Yeah, maybe they can use it as a sort of a ground-based defense.
Yeah,
firing lasers.
They're quite capable of scooping up chunks of planets, because that was their calling card, was massive craters left. So from orbit, their weaponry can carve up a planet. So it's just doing it from the other way around.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, maybe there is still a part in the story for the Borg cube.
I don't think that's the last we've seen of Elnor and Seven at this point.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not too. Because the whole stuff with Seven kind of becoming a Borg queen of that ship was really interesting and exciting, and some great stuff for her character. But it was all just rushed over a little bit because we needed to spend time with Riker and his pizza oven.
And also because it's not Seven's show, is my sort of feeling.
Yeah.
No, this is Picard's show. His name's on the thing, and yes, there's supporting characters, but I think they're more supporting than a lot of the Star Trek shows were. They were more ensemble pieces, and while Picard was the captain, the other characters had a lot more main character status. Whereas I think this is Picard's show, and Seven is much more a supporting character. And possibly they are saving it for her own show if such a thing were to happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would happily watch a Seven show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seven and Elnor even. All over that.
Yeah. Although I would hope there would be like a nice crossover section with Picard and Robot Picard.
Yeah, the original odd couple. So yeah, I mean, I guess once we sort of get through the opening, then so the ship's crash landed. As we talked about, Picard has I don't know, he sort of goes unconscious, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's we discover it's related to his brain problem.
Brain problem. Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the episode does a good job of. I didn't overplay the emotion on that. It just played it right. I thought
it played it to the characters, didn't it? It
Yeah.
played it. You know, he is not a character who's going to become maudlin or over emotional.
I like
about
that.
it.
I like that Dr. Girardi uses a tricorder as well. That was just a nice element to that scene that they have together. And I agree, guys. I thought that scene where Picard sort of has that heart to heart with his crew, or the crew of the La Serena, about what's going on with him was really good, and it's nice to see that they've kind of bonded over the course of these episodes, and they all seem, they're all affected by what he tells them. He's dying, basically. I thought it was really well handled, and it was, and it had a great line in it where Picard talks about anyone treating him like he's dying is going to piss him off. So
anyone who treats me like a dying man will run the risk of pissing me off.
And then we come across the synth colony, which is kind of what we've been building up to for the whole series, and it's a very we were talking before we fired up the recording. Actually, it's a very TNG kind of setting. And even the clothes are very TNG,
like a very fancy university campus.
Remind
me of. But and it's great when I always chuckle when they walk into a place and people are just going about their everyday lives, but they're all doing sort of kind of like doing like space yoga and kind of sort of very very light, very kind of slightly kind of artistic things, and no one they didn't turn up and just someone comes out of a toilet going, man, I'm glad I did. There's nothing kind of unseemly, like
there's no space men who are like, oh, fucking hell, it's been when are the council going to sort this out?
Someone's getting the shopping out the back of the car.
Yeah.
Whilst trying to handle a 2-year-old.
It's all very serene, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and I guess we get the first kind of big surprise of the episode for me was that Brent Spiner is back.
Yeah.
As what was the character's name?
Oh, Alton Inigo Sun, I think.
Well remembered.
Mad scientist, he says, which is fair enough. He says it.
Yeah.
He is. So, but
he's a fucking furious scientist.
What did you guys think of that sort of reveal?
I immediately found myself thinking, but wait a minute, I didn't think that Dr. Sun did have a son.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Didn't he kind of?
Why wouldn't we necessarily know?
Yeah,
I
guess
the Sun genes are very strong.
The likeness is uncanny.
It's been that way since at least the 22nd century, though.
Yeah, You know what? I mean, I didn't dislike it. I just found myself thinking, do we have to have a song? I mean, do we have to have this kind of constant connection to androids? I mean, it's a nice way to have Brent Spiner involved, and the best way. I appreciate that completely, but I just felt like I don't know. It didn't really add anything. It doesn't add anything to the story for me. It's just a nice thing to do almost.
And it is like, can nobody else build an android? It has to be someone with that surname.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I was thinking that I thought to myself is that do you think that like Alton Inigo's son when he was younger is like when he was talking to his dad, Noonan's son, going, I don't want to build androids, Dad. I just want to dance. And Noonan's son's like, no son of mine's gonna be a dancer. You're gonna go down the android mines and make androids, and like a Billy Elliot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like he's like, but and then he didn't get to be a dancer. He just had to build bloody androids again. Look,
when I was your age, I was down to pit mining positronic brains.
Oh, thanks for it.
Yeah.
Where did it get you, Dad? Where did it get you?
I think I was won over by the nerd joy of seeing Brent Spiner show up and playing a different character, and I was thinking, okay, I don't remember them ever mentioning that he had a son before, and it's such a trope, isn't it, to have an actor, the same actor play, the son.
It's really similar. It's really, really similar to those Enterprise episodes as well with the augments. Like the relationship he has with the androids on Capelia is really similar to the augment relationship with Arik Sung.
Yeah.
It just felt, I don't know, it felt a bit too similar. That's all. I like we were saying at the beginning of this episode. This episode felt like it took lots of things from other episodes and didn't sort of have its own identity.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a message this morning from my imaginary friend Niall, who said pretty much the same thing about the augment story in Enterprise.
Our imaginary friend, we've met him.
Oh yeah,
in our minds.
He's now a real friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
They projected him into our minds, though.
Maybe we did.
Yeah. Maybe he's powerful. Maybe he's learnt how to be that was another thing. Anyway, I'll move. We'll get to that
when we get to it. Yeah, but yeah, I feel like it's hard to carry on that running joke about Niall being imaginary when we've met him a few times. But then
maybe it's like a shared delusion. It's like a shared hysteria.
See, already we're thinking of ideas to keep this going. I love it.
I don't think any of us want reality to get in the way of carrying on a relatively mediocre joke.
No, that's quite
mediocre. I mean, I think brilliant.
Oh yeah, whenever I'm always logging onto Twitter and just my feed's just full of people going, "Oh, they're 10Backward guys and their hilarious joke about that one Rick's imaginary friend." Oh, it's the highlight of their podcast. I wish they would do that joke again and again.
That's pretty much our iTunes reviews list as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But chronologically, I can't remember what happens next.
Well, we've met Son of Sung.
Yes. Okay.
Which I actually liked him as a character. I thought he was a good character. He was affable, yet with a steely band of rage through him. I thought it was So I don't mind him.
Yeah.
I like him.
Oh, I mean, I was able to put aside all of my many nitpicks about him and basically focus on it's Brent Spiner being a character again. So cool. So my nerd joy won out. I gotta admit.
So they all go from meeting, Yeah, and then Picard goes off on his own and has a glass of water.
Yes, yeah, because you get parched when you're that age,
You
don't
do
you?
indeed.
Apparently.
And he meets up with evil Soji.
Evil Soji. Evil, sexy Soji.
Evil and gold.
Yeah.
Gold
Yeah.
Soji.
Yeah, I like the fact that some androids featured the sort of the original Data Star gold skin and yellow eyes.
Yeah, yeah.
It seemed like it was an aesthetic choice that they'd adopted. That's the sense that I got.
Yeah, maybe like races, a bit like races almost.
Well, didn't they all have gold? Basically, they all had a
There was
shade
some
of
gold, and then there was some. I think there was some non-gold ones. I think.
They all had a gold sheen to them.
I don't know whether like Data and Law were gold skinned because Noonien and Soong hadn't quite got the hang of, proper synthetic appearing flesh. But obviously he mastered that in time to make remake his wife.
But I got the sense that it was an aesthetic choice of that,
like in honor of their father.
Yeah, and that they ought to mark them out as synthetic life and not organic life.
Right.
Yeah.
Not hide away. To embrace themselves, and because they were perfectly capable of making, because Soji and
Daj. Yeah.
Of course, didn't look like that, so they're perfectly capable of making, but they chose to look shiny gold.
Yeah.
And I think some of the other ones didn't look quite so shiny gold because they were just in the background.
They were in the background and the makeup on everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, you might be right. So then
they seem to be arranged in lots of pairs. There's lots of twins.
Yes.
Which obviously harks back to the whole Data and Law thing.
Where was the
every other twin's evil?
Where's the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito androids? That'd be so funny. That'd be brilliant. I don't see them. They're not gold.
Yeah, it's a sad tale, but Rios' old captain shot them both.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he murdered Marnie and Danny DeVito. It was terrible.
Really? Why would you say such a thing?
Rios isn't like that.
No, he's old captain, not Rios.
Oh, yeah, okay. Beautiful.
Right.
Imagine if Beautiful Flower looked like Danny DeVito.
It's ironic.
It's ironic. He might. I mean, Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito isn't dead. I mean, he could still be in this series.
He could, yeah.
That's a good point. Then sexy evil Soji has read, like, she's basically
she's read about being a Vulcan.
Yeah, she's gone on Wikipedia and read about how to do a mind meld.
Yeah.
She's learnt it, and I
issues with that.
Yeah, I was like, is that something you can just learn by researching it? It felt to me like a Vulcan mind meld was something that's very specific to the Vulcan
physiology. Yes, that they are a psychic species because of their physiology.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice at the very least.
Well, yeah, but she's had time to practice. But surely you need all the bits to be
in your
brainium. You can't just pick it up from a book and practice. It's not like learning the instrument. Yeah.
Sutra's always had a passion for Vulcan culture. She's read Surak. She plays the Garathira beautifully. And she has, quite remarkably, taught herself the famous mind meld.
I have issues with that.
But I guess we are talking about a fictional thing in a fictional show.
Yes, but there are rules.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Trek has done a good job of making Vulcans kind of a nice mix of sort of mystical and pragmatic. Like their logic is underpinned by like religion, basically, and mysticism. So yeah, I mean, and they're an old species too. They've been at this a long time. So
Yeah.
yeah,
In Star Trek canon, is there previous examples of people who can do mind melds who aren't Vulcan?
No. I mean, there's other species have telepathic abilities.
I mean, you could say that perhaps the Vulcans kind of mythologize it a bit so that everyone else thinks that they can't do it. A bit like in Harry Potter, how they call people Muggles. So they call people Muggles so that people think they're Muggles, and then they won't try.
Yeah, but it's not about just try it.
Muggles is a racist term, basically.
Vulcans are a telepathic species.
They're true. I mean, but
who are telepathic, like you have ones that are hairy and ones that can see in the dark. But you can't just learn to see in the dark.
Can't you?
If you eat enough carrots. You just need to eat enough carrots.
I mean, my headcanon is that she was very impressed with the Vulcans generally.
Ricky, is your microphone in your mouth? Because it sounds like it is.
I've lost my tripod, so I'm having to hold it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Fair enough.
Yes, so that Sutra has this fascination with Vulcans and everything, and she's actually just made her own modifications for mind reading because they're developing mind transfer based tech.
I'll go with that. Yeah.
So when she's just copying Vulcan style as she utilizes it. So she's miniaturized a lot of this tech, stuck it in her fingers, and so she can do like pretend mind melds to impress her friends.
Okay. I'm happy with that.
Also, I do think that I think the concept of a difference between a synthetic mind and an organic mind is, I think that's there's no difference. I think mind is mind. That's what I would say on a personal level, not for this show, but I think mind is mind, and it's just what the mind uses to interact in the physical world. One thing about this part of the episode that I liked is how she explains to Dr. Jurati that perhaps it wasn't meant for organics, and it just made me think it's like they're basically saying, well, the magic roundabout that you encountered on the Grief world was like a region 1 magic roundabout, and you're a region 2 type of life form, and so that's why you didn't get it. Whereas I'm a region 1 life form, so I can understand this magic roundabout, and it says kill all life, kill all organic life.
You just got like the FBI warning that pops up at the beginning, and it's stuck on that, so that's why you thought it was a warning.
It is interesting though, because I quite like the idea that actually it wasn't meant for organic life. But even when the synthetic life tries it, the outcome is still like, let's wipe out all the other guys.
Amounts to the same thing, really.
Yeah.
So they did get it right.
Pretty much.
If the Roombas try it, then they'd get the real message.
Yeah, I still think it could be an advert for like an ancient theme park. Like, do you want to go to a theme park and pretend that you're wiping out all life? Well, come down to Zarbucks, and for just 500 shkabagles, you can experience that for a week, all inclusive. And it's just, but it's been abandoned, and like, oh man, imagine what people are going to think when they find this in 200,000 years' time. The theme park won't be there. They won't.
They'll go nuts. They'll smash their own heads in with rocks. Like, don't be so silly. They wouldn't have such an extreme reaction. Be fine. We'll just leave this here. It's not a problem.
I'm not moving those 8 suns back. No way.
Yeah. I did like the explanation that it kind of wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't meant for. It was meant for synthetics. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, I liked it. It was good. Yeah,
I liked the thing that happened in the show. That's what I'm trying to say.
Good night.
What's his name? Narek.
He's shown up.
And he's been put in prison. And predictably, he's kind of got out and
because sexy naughty Soji let him out because she's got she's gonna, hey, that guy, look what he did,
stabbed someone in the blinking eye.
Gotta kill them all.
Bloody organics. Look what they'd stab you in the eye as soon as look at you, won't they?
So yeah,
I quite liked that. I liked
well,
that sort of manipulation from her, because I thought that sometimes the androids kind of came off as a bit kind of naive.
Yes,
and I guess they had that kind of sort of data-like curiosity and sort of childlike naivety about them, but
not all of them.
But no, they're sort of more, and they've got some serious intelligence.
Some of them, some of them are, because the one who got stabbed in the eye was very, very much your classic TNG, and an original series naive.
Yeah.
What is love?
What is this? This is this human thing you call love.
And she got stabbed in the eye.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, a pretty golden eye.
Oh, one thing I did notice in this episode. What do you think? Because the android that gets stabbed in the eye is sort of the twin of another one called Arcana, who I think she's the one that gives Raffi that sort of space remote control that fixes things.
Yes.
I feel like that might be used.
It must come up. Yeah.
No, we'll never see that again.
What is this?
It fixes things.
How?
You have to use your imagination.
Maybe that'll fix Picard's brainium. No,
it
maybe
does
not.
fix things.
Yeah.
Well, she said it fixes things, didn't she?
Yeah, he said you just have to use your imagination.
Yeah. Like,
I'm worried that it doesn't do anything. And what she means is you just have to pretend. She's actually like the nutty one. And so one of the other androids was meant to like warn them about her.
She got stabbed in the eye.
Yeah.
She could warn them.
Also, she's telling a conspiracy nut to use her imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be careful, because Raffi's basically just been told that it was the CIA that killed JFK, and she's like, "Yes, I knew it." But in the space version and the Picard version, so she's hopped up on "Yes, I was right" mojo, I think.
Yeah. Oh, what do you think of the last scene between Raffi and Picard?
I liked it. I loved it.
I liked it.
I thought it was very sweet, and a real amazing scene for Picard. I don't think he's ever said that. No, has he ever said that before, Rick?
I don't think so. No, he's not in that sort of manner. No,
it's just such a change. It's such it's such a personal thing for him to say. Like, he's so like Picard is so he keeps himself. He doesn't reveal a lot about himself. He doesn't get emotional very often, and he doesn't. He keeps that part of himself away from the people he cares about for whatever reason. And to say that to someone I thought it was lovely.
I like it.
Yeah, I liked that he wasn't sure that he wanted to say it, and he nearly didn't say it, and then he kind of changed his mind. I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
A great performance from Patrick Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
But just, are you guys thinking this is when he says that he loves her?
Oh, well.
Do you think he means it's a sort of a platonic kind of?
People can love each other in a platonic way,
in a friendship kind of way. Or do you think it meant he was in love with her?
No.
And then Raffi was like, "Oh no, that's not what I meant. Well, this is awkward." And Picard's like, "Oh, should we go and get a coffee?" Raffi, let's go and get a coffee. She's like, geez, JL, it's not what I meant.
I'm gonna go and fix my shit.
Yeah.
I was just a bit disappointed that in that point, Raffi didn't point out the fact that he has been a monumental dick to her. I think it just felt like, well, actually, I'm okie dokie fine with everything now. You know, the fact that for 14 years he completely ignored me, never said a word, you know, never checked up on me. And then, you know, he's been completely oblivious to my emotional distress, and, you know, he's been quite content to use me to further his own mission without rat's ass about her own feelings. I'm just, that. And then she's just like, oh, well, I love you. I was like,
She said, for all of the things that you've done for me.
Yeah.
That was one of the lines.
Yeah. What has he done? He brought that wine. He brought that wine in the string bag. That's what she was talking about.
I guess we don't see. I guess we don't see the good times, do we? Because when we meet them and they're still in Starfleet. I mean, that's some way into their relationship, I suppose. Their working relationship and their friendship. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We've only really seen the sort of drama side of how it went wrong in the show. Yeah, that's true.
And Rios too. I mean, going back to that earlier scene where he tells them about his prognosis or prognosis. I get prognosis and diagnosis mixed up. Rios was affected too, and because he's maybe done that the same thing he did with his previous captain. He's bonded with his. Yeah. He's got a new father figure to kind of
imprinted on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do we all die?
But yeah, Rick. Going back to that. Sorry. Going back to that point, I thought it was really nicely done, and it's nice to see that side of Picard as well.
Yeah, it was a good moment the way Picard reacted to it. I just felt that Raffi was sold short that suddenly she's okay with everything.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that happens in relationships. Like some person will one side of a relationship will do that. Perhaps they'll, the relationships work that way. Perhaps sometimes there's more. Some person has more take and some person has more give, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I guess we sort of come to the crux of the episode, which is that the synths, sexy Sojay synth, who isn't Sojay, says, look, we need to protect ourselves from the organics. There's a Romulan fleet on the way. Let's call up the old, super old synths and get them to come and help us, because they said they would.
Yeah.
In that message, and then Picard's all like, but that does sound like they'll sort of wipe out all organic life if you do that.
Ooh,
and she's like, I think I'm going to do it anyway.
Screw you guys.
Yeah, and Picard makes an impassioned speech to the synthetics, and it doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't work, and I liked that.
But it doesn't work because some counter argues, doesn't he? And he says that he says that the synths are listening to him because of.
Okay, that's a good point. He does, actually.
And then he told the synths, but no one else listens to him.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't listen to him.
And the Federation will listen to me.
No, they won't.
So Picard sort of basically ends up in prison.
Yeah.
In the end, because he's a danger, and so Jurati's kind of sided with the androids, hasn't she?
Yeah, but that makes sense.
She's done a murder.
Which everyone seems to be cool with now. Oh well, no, apart from Sung.
He's not cool with the fact that she murdered.
Yeah, he was quite cross.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, you did the thing you did, the murder you did, that was really bad. And she's like, I know.
You're quite naughty.
Yeah.
I didn't like the bit where she just sort of decides that she's going to stay on that world. It's like, well, no, you murdered someone.
Yeah,
it's you need to go back.
Well, no, I don't think she means stay permanently, because she does say to Rios, "Don't forget to pick me up before you go."
Yes, she does. Yeah.
So she just means she's going to stay there rather than help fix the ship.
Say that before or after the speech scene, where basically sexy not Soji kind of threatens her, basically.
Well, that's the end. So yeah, she does say it before.
So yeah.
So maybe she's changed her mind by that point.
But it's not. I don't think it's unreasonable that a character would stay there.
Yeah.
That this has been her life, and she feels that she has to make up for the things that she's done.
Plus, if she goes back
to prison,
Earth, she is wanted for murder, and there are witnesses to that murder. So maybe she is actually thinking, "I am probably better off here."
Yeah.
And plus, there's potentially going to be like a fleet of super advanced androids that are going to show up and wipe out all organic life anyway.
Yeah.
I may as well stay here, and I might be able to escape that. Maybe that's in the back of her mind.
But they wouldn't, though, would they? They.
We don't know what they'll do. We don't know anything about them.
Wipe out organic life. All organic life.
The state of the story where we're left is that the Romulan fleet is on its way. Picard's in prison, and the synths are planning to call on the super synths to help them out. And so it's like, does the finale kind of go down where the Romulan fleet show up, and then the super synths show up and they destroy the Romulans, or did the super synths not get called because they managed to stop them, but then the Romulans show up, and how are they going to deal with the Romulans? And
I predict that the super synths are not going to show up.
Yeah, maybe.
Where are they going to go from there?
Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen with that template golem, and I think that's crucial to what happens. I agree, because I mean, if these are essentially machine artificial intelligence gods, because they live outside of time and space, so they're, for all intents and purposes, they're supernatural beings. How are they going to turn up and get defeated? Because that seems like that. How do you even do that if they're that powerful? So I feel like we won't see them completely, but maybe one of them will come down and inhabit the golem, and then that might be a villain for season 2 or something.
Or maybe, yeah.
Like, because it's hard to imagine, because they weren't turn up in ships and stuff, were they? Because I never got the. I get the sense, because if they live outside of time and space, then they're sort of beyond physical reality, aren't they? So they're that powerful. So, but they could take the form of something, and maybe that'd be a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
My feeling is they will turn up. There'll probably be some level of battle before finally Picard gets up there and diplomacies the hell out of them.
They're not going to respond to diplomacy. They're not going to listen to organic life.
They've never heard a Picard speech before.
Yeah.
I predict they're going to show up, but they're really tiny.
Okay.
They've really misjudged things.
We thought organic life was all the same size as us. You're all massive. Bye. We've been outside of time and space for too long.
Did you enjoy our space theme park? Oh wait. Oh, now I see what has happened. Like, yeah, maybe that's it. Like because if the space roundabout mind video is actually a promotion for a big old space theme park, then they could just be like, it was just, what are you guys doing? No. This was like 200,000 years ago. This was the most bitchin' space theme park the galaxy had ever known. And that's what it was. It was an advert. Like, it was just an advert. And like, oh my God.
So embarrassing.
So sorry. Oh man, this is terrible.
Whoop.
Well, surely this would tie back to the original series episode Shore Leave, where there was a theme park planet which had mind-reading technology that could hastily construct artificial robot versions of your fantasies to entertain you. There you go. AI, synthetic life, mind reading, theme park, all ties in.
But I mean, we jest about this, but imagine it in the thousands of years down the line, if someone excavates, I don't know, Disney World or Disneyland or something, and they would find the remains and they'd go, this was the site of some sort of human culture that represented some sort of mouse god by traveling around on metal structures that went up and down and upside down, which clearly was some sort of ritual to engage with the mouse god. And,
there's a castle,
and lots of
seat of power for this nation.
So yeah, I mean, we jest about it, but I'm sure that's not what's going to happen. But
yeah, I mean, I think we jest about it, like full stop. That's probably not where the story's going to go.
All I'm saying is that archaeologists could find what was a theme park and interpret it as something far more esoteric and threatening. That's all I'm saying. Like if you excavated Space Mountain, you could go, this is a big old gun. This is a massive gun, or something, or Anyway,
you could be right, Rick.
I genuinely don't think that's what's going to happen in Picard. It's just a train of thought.
Yeah. But yeah, I did feel after this episode, I didn't feel like I was as super excited about seeing how the finale goes down as I wanted to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think maybe it's the whole Borg cube thing. Maybe if the Borg cube was still around, I'd be a bit more stoked.
Yeah.
To see how that goes down. But it feels like they've taken that out of the picture, and I'm worried that we won't see a space battle. I'm worried that Romulan fleet will show up, and then maybe the super synths show up, and they go, surprise, motherfuckers, and they just click their fingers, and the Romulan fleet is just disappears. Kind of like the wormhole aliens can do in DS9, and there won't even be any explosions. Can you imagine that? How would I feel?
You would be a sad man.
I wouldn't be happy. So I don't know.
I think it might be all right. I mean, I feel like including Brent Spiner as another son was a little bit of fan service. So fan service wise, I think they've done all right this season. So you would hope that they would go, we can't promise a big old Romulan fleet and not have some space battle action. So
you can't end part one on literally a shot of a big Romulan space fleet on its way and not have any pew pew.
Don't forget that Starfleet's coming.
Oh well, Picard tried to call them, but he couldn't get through. Could he? They were engaged.
Well, he sent a thing. It was a recording, wasn't it?
You're right. Well, yeah, he did send them a message, and it had been established that there was in the previous episode. He does get a squadron sent to Deep Space 12.
Yeah.
So maybe we could still see Riker leading that fleet.
I feel like I do feel like if there's going to be anything that teases season 2, it will involve in some way the Riker Troys. I feel like that's what they might do. I envisage like a post-credit sequence where their daughter, Princess Mononoke daughter, meets Captain Crandall. I think I still feel like Captain Crandall is something.
I agree.
And it's and we're gonna get to see him, and we're gonna, oh my god, it's X.
Yeah. That could be the final shot of the episode of she's at the spaceport and maybe tries like Captain Crandall, and he sort of
bus goes by.
Yeah,
and
he's a bus. That's crazy. That wasn't what I was thinking.
On the other side of the bus.
Okay, and it's a reveal. Exactly. I was imagining we see a shot from behind of him, and then he sort of turns around and does a slow reveal.
Yeah.
with his face. And it's like it's
someone is completely
it's
new
Kirk.
character.
It's
No,
it's
I've never
Shatner.
seen that before.
Yeah.
It's
He's
Kirk. It's free from the
Free
rocks.
from
not-
those rocks.
Yeah, Harold Bishop Kirk, basically.
But we'll see. We might we'll be back again next week to record the final kind of reaction podcast to the season finale of Star Trek Picard, and then we'll know everything.
Yeah.
And it would be a weird position to be in, and a little bit sad.
We will
'cause-
laugh at ourselves, our past
Yeah.
selves.
God, we thought it was going to be disappointing.
Fools
Oh my
we
god,
were.
so amazing! And so many characters showed up and said, "Surprise, motherfuckers!" I don't think anyone would do it. They all did. Oh, and the bit where Beverly Crusher showed up. She was a Borg, and she was on fire. That was epic.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's
carry
wrap
on.
this up. I was just looking at how long we've been recording for, and it's really long. Let's put this one to bed.
Yeah, before it becomes a two-parter.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Stay safe out there.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if the world is still around in a week's time, we'll be back recording one more episode.
Yeah. Be good to each other out there. I'm sure you will be, but just stay safe and be back in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Take it easy, guys.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Do you realize how incredible this is?
It's tradition. You ever noticed her bum? What? Her bum.
Oh no!
I will say
Fewer things.
Okay.
Enough of this self-indulgence.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, our website is www.lowerdecksradio.co.uk. You can reach us on the Twitters at 10Backward, 10 being the number and backward being the word backward. We're also on Facebook at www.facebook.com/10Backward podcast. You can also email us at crew@lowerdecksradio.co.uk. On a personal, individual level, my Twitter is @WiltHurland. Rick Everson's Twitter is @TrekFanRick. And Rick Palmer's Twitter is @Mr. Imhotep.
Hi, thank you again for listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you might consider supporting us. We now have a Patreon where people can pledge small amounts to fund our ongoing projects like keeping our website up to date, new audio equipment as we're going along, and potentially opportunities to expand our content. You can go look at this at patreon.com/lowerdecksradio. If you don't feel you can donate but would still like to support us, we would love it if you could subscribe to us on however you get your podcasts, through iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or we're on various third-party apps. And if you could leave us a review on any of those, that would be fantastic and we'd be very appreciative.
Thanks again for listening, and please tune in for more podcasts from the 10 Backward crew.
Let's make sure that history never forgets the name.
10 Backward?
Laddie, don't you think you should rephrase that?
10 Backward. 10 Backward.
Anyone who treats me like a dying man will run the risk of pissing me off.